Monique, I've had the pleasure of knowing you for some years now. You're a great partner of the NSBC. You're a powerhouse behind small business. And, it's organizations like you guys and others who can keep it rolling for small business, and bringing out new solutions and can make a positive difference for every small business. So, Monique, a big welcome to you. I'm going to go to your screen now, and then you can then just, there we go, guys. Monique, welcome. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having us. Thank you for the opportunity, and welcome to all the entrepreneurs that are on the line with us. It's always great to know that there are people on the other side of these screens. So welcome, and I hope that through the session, you're going to leave motivated and inspired, and know that you're not alone through the process. There are institutions like Nedbank as well as the NSBC that are here to support you through this process.
Yeah, Monique, we move on to the first slide of the morning. And, like we've done, Monique, over the past few months, we've done many surveys to really understand the challenges, but we spend more time finding out beyond the pandemic what we can do as an organization to really help SMEs come back. And the amazing thing, like we spoke yesterday, Monique, is that for many entrepreneurs and business owners of SMEs, the positivity is strong, the resilience is enormous, and they're coming back stronger than ever. And, just to give you some insight, we as an organization have grown over 35,000 in 5 months. And, one would expect us to have kind of like downsized or diminished, but not at all. The amount of SMEs throughout South Africa who's engaged with us in a positive way to find better solutions, to be inspired and to move forward is incredible. And, I was invited by the European Union in November last year to talk on small business. And we all know that small business is the main of our economy. They are the engines of our society. And of course, that's the future of the alleviation of unemployment. So we as a nation, whether we're a small business, a consumer, or a big business government, we have to rally behind the small business. And it's like forums like this that we can make that difference. Now, Monique, from your side, what have entrepreneurs faced, or what has Nedbank seen over this time in the last 5 months?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. The thing with the pandemic is that people in general approach a crisis differently. Some over the pandemic, some became better versions of themselves. Some became paranoid. The better versions, we all know about the banana bakers that emerged and the specialist brewers that emerged over the lockdown. And the same is true for entrepreneurs. Some entrepreneurs have actually pivoted and have said, you know what, I've been in a retail type environment and I actually need to start an e-commerce store. And you find people that were never online, they were never digitally active before that, but pivoted and said, look, I need to actually, find another way. But there were also businesses that over the time froze. They just sort of didn't know where to go and just said, well, I'm going to wait this out and I'm going to see what happens. And you mentioned the research and the stats that you've also done, and we found the same. It was some of the stats are really bleak in most instances, and you kind of feel like, what, am I going to slit my wrists? But then there is this resounding hopefulness that we found as well. Just to give you an idea of some of the stats we ran, we spoke to businesses around their sales and their turnover, for instance, and we said, right in the beginning of lockdown, in March and April, we said, how do you think your sales and your turnover is going to do over this period? And 64% of people came back and said, nada, there's nothing, I'm not going to have any sales, I'm not going to have any turnover in March and April. But then on the flip side, there was 1% that turned around and said, you know what, I think I'm still going to be able to grow. Another stat that we ran was around, staffing. We know that the lockdown placed strain on business owners and the ability to keep and pay staff. And obviously, this has a ripple effect on your families and the communities that the business owner touches, et cetera, et cetera. And sadly, 51% of business owners came back to us and said, you know what, I'm actually going to have to either temporarily let staff go, or I'm going to have to force them to take leave, paid leave or unpaid leave, just depending on where the business owner was, or where the company was at that particular time. Another stat that we ran was around saying, how are you going to cope? So how are you going to get through this period? What do you have in mind to actually get you through this period? And we had people that said to us, you know what, I've got enough in a kitty right now to self-fund myself. We don't know whether, I think we all didn't expect the lockdown to be so long. So we don't know how long that kitty lasted for some people, but basically people said, you know what, I've got some surplus money, I've got some surplus income, I'm going to be okay. We had others that said, you know what, I'm going to make a concerted effort to actually reduce costs in my business. So I'm going to see where I can cut in order to survive. Others said, I'll cope by applying for credit. And we all know that there were a lot of relief aids that were available to business owners over the time. So, there were those lifelines that were available to businesses. But then, sadly, there was 37% of people that came back and said, you know what, I don't think my business is actually going to survive. Again, if we talk about this resounding hopefulness that businesses had, there was businesses, though, when we said to them, what do you think the impact of lockdown is going to be on your business after 6 months? These business owners said to us, there was 50% said to us, although there are uncertainties, I believe that I can change my business and I'm going to survive. Which when you're in the trenches, nobody, despite all the doom and gloom, despite what people, what the stats say, despite what the research says, as an entrepreneur, we have seen that despite all of this, whether your confidence level is at 6, that businesses are saying, listen, how do I continue after lockdown? And the fact that we have so many attendees on this webinar today tells me that resilience is motivated beyond the pep talks. How do I actually make a concerted effort to get through this? So that's really what we saw over this time, Mike.
Yeah, Monica, it's interesting. And just to add to that, we did some as well significant surveys, and we wanted to, as I said before, bring some positivity out of it. And the biggest learnings coming out of the pandemic for SMEs is threefold. First of all, we asked the SMEs, what would you have done if you knew the pandemic was coming, that you could have changed in your life? And three things came out, what they're going to do in the future. 94% of SMEs said this: they would stockpile more cash, they would reduce debt, and eliminate all non-essential spending. Because the global average is that 94% of SMEs work and live from month to month. And that now they could wish they could at least lift that to 4 to 5 months. And if one can learn that and take that on and implement that and make all the effort to achieve that, then there's a very big positive coming out of the pandemic. But moving on to the next slide, Monique, what is the Shifting Gears program all about?
Yeah, so Shifting Gears came as a result of the lockdown. We realized that you'll always have 3 sets of businesses that are in these 3 life stages. But more so now that people have experienced a lockdown, and like you say, they've now had to decide, look, there's certain actions I need to take in my business in order to survive. One of the phrases that I really can't stand is this whole definition of the new normal. What is new normal? If we just look at the dictionary definition of normal is it's standard, it's usual, it's typical, it's expected. Where we're sitting at the moment, it's not normal by any stretch of the imagination. If you just think about if about 8 months ago, if you were listening to a business talk that was recorded before then, if you think of it now, are the facts that you would have heard then still relevant to your business, or are you kind of looking back and thinking, sure, no, you don't know what I've been through in the last 6 months. But what we found with shifting gears is we said the principles remain the same. We have business owners that are now, or entrepreneurs that are now saying, I need to either get into gear, I need to start a business, or I need to start over. These could be people that have been retrenched, people that have taken early retirement. It could be people that have been unemployed for a long time. And it could be just side hustlers that have been running the side hustle and are saying, you know what, if anything, through the pandemic, it's taught me that I need to formalize this. I need an additional form of income. And so I need to start a business. And we've created a gear called Get Into Gear to actually help you through 8 steps to actually get started and get your business off the ground. The other group of people that we're finding are business owners that have an existing business, that are saying, you know what, I'm able to survive. I've survived, but I need to actually pivot. I need to reimagine. I need to redefine this business. I need to refocus myself so that I can remain relevant in market. And so we have another change gear. So let's off this period saying, you know what, I have given this business my blood, sweat, tears, everything within me, but it just needs to close. It either needs to close or I need to downscale, but I cannot continue the way I am. You know, as entrepreneurs, we really give our heart and soul to a business. It's so when you get to the point where you've come and you've decided, listen, this business needs to close, there's a lot of emotional and psychological and financial pain that a business owner is going through. And so through the Gear Down program, it's about saying, okay, how do we take this pain away and how do we make it as painless as possible, but understanding that businesses are at this point. So shifting gears really is a self-learning course that we run through SimplyBiz. It's free to any entrepreneur that basically arrives and says, listen, I either need to get into gear, or I need to change gears, or I need to gear down in my business. It gives you access to thought leadership chats, you know, when you get stuck around certain elements in it. And then, you know, there's a prize, and there's a for business owners that get involved in the program, so they're able to you know, win a book. That basically there's a book that Nedbank runs called the Ultimate Business Companion Guide. It's jam-packed with templates for businesses to access, and then there's also the book for businesses that are pivoting that says, you know, what is the book, you know, the book that every business owner needs to read in order to get to the next steps for their business. So really that's what shifting gears is around saying, how do we as Nedbank help businesses in 8 steps to either start, pivot, or wind down their businesses.
Monique, a unique, invaluable program, and of course, just to add to that, you know, in the past 5 months, we've had more businesses starting out in the past 5 months than in the last 3 years combined. And it shows you there's a lot of passion out there. You know, people often ask me in the NSBC, you know, is this the right time to start a business? There's no good or bad time. You know, I was a guest speaker on a global conference, and amongst the panel is that it's a known fact that the biggest and most successful companies of the future have been born in the pandemic. So, and that's quite exciting to hear. And of course, it is a great time, because at the end of the day, it's not all about adversity. It's about knowing what we're going into. You know, Monique, any given time of the year and in any stage, it's not easy to go out there and succeed as an entrepreneur. It takes 1,000 days to reach a certain level of stability, and it doesn't belong to everybody. But the importance is, you know, if you do the right thing, you do your homework, you've got your plan, you've got your passion, your perseverance, and your persistence, under any condition, you can go out there and you can succeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, Monique. Monique, let us unpack what you mean by purposeful action.
So I think that there's three key areas that we need to chat about. If you are a business owner where you're saying, you know what, I have to gear down. I have to close down this business. It's not surviving. And I think one of the key things for entrepreneurs is to really eyeball a business. When you look at this business and you say, you know what, I have given it my all. And it's just not going to survive. I've been plodding along, and I need to close down this business. Purposeful action says, okay, what does it take to do it? One, I'm going to have to deregister with CIPC if it's a registered business. Two, I'm going to have to go and sort out my SARS affairs. Three, I might have to retrench staff. But it's about saying, okay, I need to take these specific steps in order for me to start afresh. The reality is that, you know, if people are now deciding, well, you know, I'm going to take up, I'm going to go look for a job. The reality is, you know, the chances of people finding a job right now is limited. So we need to look at, for instance, if the business is saying, okay, I need to close down, what are the steps that I need to take in order to close this business down, but then help me actually kickstart? And I think two key things I can say around closing down a business is that when we need to have the hard conversations around retrenchment, for instance, with staff, we need to understand that there really are three victims in this whole thing, and a lot of it of what I'm going to say I've borrowed from thought leaders that we've used on SimplyBiz. But one thought leader actually said to us, she said, you know, it's around understanding that the victims in retrenchment is our employees. It's the employees' colleagues, so the people that are left behind, you know, the guilt that they feel that actually, you know what, somebody's lost their job, but I can still remain. And most importantly, it's you as an entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur, you feel accountable for the people that are working for you. It's important also that when you're having these retrenchment conversations, that you are seen to be fair and that you are fair in your liaisons with your staff. The other piece is to also, in that, understand what is still within your control. The only thing sometimes that is within your control is your attitude and your behavior. And we've got to get to the point where we say, okay, positivity in tough times is not about being happy. It's really just about putting one step in front of the other, but putting it in front of the other intentionally. So where do I expect to go to once I've actually shut down this business? Where do I expect to go to once I've actually had the conversations with my staff and my suppliers and my customers? The other purposeful action that I would like to mention is around, you know, getting up every day and plotting exactly what it is you're going to do for the day. I call it our daily high fives, which really says, what are the 5 things that I will do today to help me grow this business, or that will help me change this business? It could be saying, I will make 5 calls. You know, sometimes it's as purposeful as saying, I will go through my phone and I will find 5 people that I will call, and I will tell them what my business does again, and I will tell them I'm back in business. And it could be creating 5 social posts, practical things. But getting up in the morning and saying, I will do the following 5 things in order to reach out to people and in order to get my name out there and to make sure that that I'm still touching my market that I need to. There are also 5 key areas in your business. There's the finance piece, there's the operations piece, there's the HR piece and sales and marketing. And if I put my banking hat on, we you know, when you're approaching the bank for credit, if you say, okay, the next steps in my business is that I need to apply for credit, be specific about what you need and why you need the money. Remember, from a banking perspective, we have tons of businesses that come through to us. We need to know that you understand your business, and the more you understand your business, the more we're able to help you when you arrive for funding. We often have people say, you know, I think I'm going to need around about this because I think I'm going to make X in the next couple of months. Be specific, and be realistic also when you're approaching the banks. When it comes to admin and operations, you know, sometimes we just think that admin or your operations in your business is just the nuts and bolts. It's the filing system on the back end that we need to attend to, but it's not. You know, all those little steps that you put into your business are actually the stepping stones that are going to help you grow your base. So you've got to go into the operational part of your business saying, what are the steps that I need to put in place now for growth, and growth at all touch points. From a sales and a marketing perspective, you know, we were chatting, Mike, before this webinar around how, from a digital perspective, we were almost forced to embrace this digital age. We were forced to find solutions, and there are tons and tons and tons of freeware available to help businesses market. We were just chatting about the webinars facilities, for instance, that we use. You use WebJammer. On our side, we use Livestorm. There's free email packages. There's MailChimp. There's free, you know, social media platforms like Hootsuite, where you can, you know, consolidate all your activities. So when we say, from a sales and marketing perspective, be specific around, what am I going to do? What are the tools that I'm going to download? What are the tools that I'm going to use in order to move forward from a sales and marketing perspective? When we look at people, I think, you know, as entrepreneurs, because we have so many people that are dependent on us, sometimes we want to be the hero. We want to be seen that we've got all our ducks in a row. We know where we're heading, because, you know, you kind of want to give your staff that kind of certainty, because they're client facing. If your staff are feeling uncertain and they're client facing, they kind of, you know, they're not going to be as confident when they're speaking to people or to customers. So you want people to be able to say, listen, I know what my business, what this business is that I represent, and I know where we're going. So as an entrepreneur and as the business owner, you need to remain transparent with your staff. You need to be able to say, okay, this is where we are. In reality, this is the impact that has happened to the business over the last 6 months. In reality, this is where we are. This is where I see us heading. How do you see that shift taking place in your immediate environment? And then the fifth key area for me is around keeping yourself motivated as an entrepreneur. I know we have a lot coming at us at the moment, but it's about being kind to yourself. It's about understanding that you're doing the best that you can with what you have in your hand at this particular time. And that the lessons you've learned over lockdown, or the lessons that we've learned through growing your business, have been around saying, you know what, this was the best I could do at this particular time. So as an entrepreneur and as a leader in your business, be kind to yourself. Because by being kind to yourself, you're going to remain motivated, and you're going to be able to go onto the next phase. So really, that is it around purposeful action. It's around saying, okay, what are my daily high fives? What am I going to purposely set out to do? And how am I going to purposely set out to do these things when it comes to, from a finance perspective, when it comes to sorting out my operations, when it comes to my marketing, or when it comes to speaking to my people? What are those 5 things that I need to do on a daily basis to actually start moving?
Monica, I think that's great. Be kind to yourself. Good advice, and I think that's really important. Monica Segamoko asks a question on the chat. To benefit from the Nedbank programs, does one need to bank with Nedbank?
No. So on SimplyBiz, for instance, if SimplyBiz is a free platform to all entrepreneurs, you don't need to be banked with Nedbank at all. It's a free service to you. And on the platform, you'll get access to articles and tools and guides and a whole lot of other tools to help you, on this business journey. So no.
Monique, Caroline Orkello comments, it's hard to be kind to yourself when bills must be paid. Sure, it's challenging, but we'll overcome that, and everyone goes through similar adversities. It's the ability to bounce back positively after adversity that makes a true entrepreneur. So, Caroline, hang in there. The good times are coming. I always say, everybody in some stage of their lives has a dip, and everybody at some stage has a rise, and we all have that turn. So, Caroline, hang in there. I fully understand. Monique, how does Nedbank plan its interventions for small business owners?
We have a philosophy that we've adopted called banking and beyond. And it's something that we've run for many years. And whenever we create a product or when we go into market with any of our touch points from the small business side, we're saying, how do we support a small business from a banking perspective? And how do we support them beyond banking? If I talk about from a banking perspective, within Nedbank, we give you a relationship banker. It's a dedicated person that you can pick up the phone and say, I'm stuck, help. It is also someone who's able to assist you with your banking around with your business, with you as an entrepreneur, as an individual, and with your family and your staff. So that's one of the key areas that we have. When we talk about banking, it's much of a muchness. All banks run credit card facilities. All banks have loan facilities, or the pool of products is the same. What we've decided to do from a banking perspective is to say, how do we help businesses? And then the one is through giving you a dedicated relationship banker. The other approach that we have from a banking perspective is customized credit scorecards. So when we look at the small businesses that approach us, we have a specific credit scorecard that has been created with business owners in mind. With that said, remember I said earlier, you need to be specific when you come to your bank. You need to be specific to say, listen, this is how much I need, and this is what I'm going to use it for, and this is what I see it when I see it that I'll be able to repay it, and when I see the returns on it. And when you approach the bank with that in mind, to say, look, I categorically know where I stand financially and what help I need, it makes it easier for us to implement this customized credit scorecard, because then we're looking at you as a business that's come in and said, okay, how can we adapt this for you? So it really is an adapted model that we've created for small businesses. From a beyond perspective, a lot of people have often said to us, why do you do this beyond thing? Why do you do beyond banking where it's free to business owners, whether they are Nedbank clients and they're not Nedbank clients? The reality of it is that we know that the failure rate for businesses is very high, especially within the first 3 to 5 years. And we've realized over time that it's pointless us bringing businesses on board, giving you the bells and whistles around, cards and credit and like I said, that pot of general banking stuff that everyone has access to, when you're not going to survive. How do we help you actually survive at least those first 5 years? How do we help you survive beyond the 5 years? And so our beyond banking elements are items like SimplyBiz, for instance, but then also over the lockdown, for instance, we realized that, look, a lot of people weren't going to qualify for credit. If you wouldn't qualify for credit before the lockdown, the chances of you qualifying for credit during the lockdown were going to be really slim. Also, if we just eyeball ourselves as entrepreneurs and we say, look, if I'm already over indebted and there isn't any income coming in, and I don't know when I'm going to be able to get out of debt or meet my contractual obligations, it's not wise to be applying for credit. And from a bank perspective, we said, we can't also be irresponsible and be granting credit. But we still needed to find a solution. And with that, we started a program called the Back a Business Movement, which was a crowdfunding initiative. In fact, we were one of the first banks to ever run with the crowdfunding a company, and we partnered with Thunder Fund. And the idea behind Back a Business was to say, okay, as business owners, you need operating expenses. You need some money to tide you by. Who better to speak to than the people that know you and love you? The people that have supported you over the years. So we encourage business owners to be reaching out to their clients, to their staff, to friends, family, to say, listen, I need a bit of money. Help me do this, and when I'm on my feet, I'll give you something back. And we had people say, okay, buy one T-shirt, or contribute towards one T-shirt, and I'll give you another T-shirt free, for instance, which was a kind of reward that was offered. The other thing around Nedbank and something that we're quite passionate around when it comes to small businesses is that we are very authentic. There are many people on this call that know me from in my personal capacity and the fact that I run a small business. Many of the people within the Nedbank small business team are actually business owners that actively run businesses as side hustles that we declare, but they, we are business owners. We've grown up in families that run businesses, and sometimes people say, it's very easy for people that are in full-time employment to come on and have this conversation around, these are the 5 action steps you need to take in your business, and be real when you're applying for credit, etc., etc. But you've got a full-time job that you're going to after this. I'm still in the trenches and I need to hustle to actually get through this. And what I can tell you is that with full-time employment, and in fact, this is how I had started my own business, was around saying sometimes we have this false sense of security around full-time employment. At any point in time, I don't think we expected COVID-19 to hit us the way it did. We didn't expect the lockdown to be as long as what it did. And it's the same when you're in full-time employment. There's no such a thing as, it's always going to be secure and that you're always going to have that. And so the reality is, when we look at businesses, we know that business owners run businesses not because it's a hobby, but it's an absolute necessity. It's a necessity beyond just the paycheck. And the fact is that, business owners have so many other people that are dependent on them. So, I can genuinely say that within Nedbank, when we create any product, any service for small businesses, we always have this hat around how do we help you from a banking perspective, how do we help you from a beyond perspective, and then you at least have the assurance that we are authentic because we are small business owners ourselves, and we understand the hustle and we understand the realities of what's in market. And with that, we run numerous competitions. For instance, there's one that's going with the shifting gears. I mentioned books that you could win. But when we run any competition, the prizes that we select, for instance, is to say what can we do that's going to make a tangible difference in your business. So do you need a website? Do you need an advertising package? Do you need assistance around starting a crowdfunding initiative? Do you need assistance around getting coaching for your business? It's really around saying, look, we don't want to be just having these random competitions that we expect business owners to enter. It's around saying, how do we ensure that any competition or any activity that we run within the bank is meaningful to you as an entrepreneur, and it makes a difference in your day-to-day life. We that might sound like we're really serious. We also have a lot of fun. We've also hopped onto the whole Jerusalem challenge, where we're saying to business owners, listen, with all the stress and the strain and the doom and the gloom, and it's difficult to maybe keep staff motivated. It's maybe difficult to keep yourself motivated right now. Why don't you pull together a group of your staff or your customers or your clients and do the Jerusalem challenge, and then stand the chance to win 5,000 Rand as an advertising package. Again, it's, how do we sort of realize that people and entrepreneurs are under the stress and strain, but then also give a practical prize around for a business owner and to make a difference in the actual business. So I hope that answers your question around how we look at businesses from a Nedbank perspective, Mike.
Monique, yeah, that's really insightful. Very grateful, and of course, we're getting some great comments on the chat, and what we will do, if there's any unanswered questions, we will forward them to you. And I just want to say I'm very grateful for you taking part. Time is money, and but your insights, you're passionate about small business. I know that, and our attendees are grateful, and we appreciate your engagement this morning. And on behalf of the NSBC,
thanks, Mike. Thank you for having us. It's really important for all.
Sorry, I lost you for a moment there.
I think we had an overlap
there. Yeah, so thank you, Monique, and many more to come. And
as well. So yeah.
And to all the attendees out there, thank you for joining us. I know many follow us often, and take a look at our site, NSBC.Africa. We've got amazing things coming up, new big launches, panel discussions, webinars, breakfast functions, and stay with us so we can do more of what we would do. And of course, to all of you out there, it's because of you we can do what we do. And Monique, it's because of organizations like Nedbank we can do what we do, and that's the service. Serve the SME community of our country. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. And all the best to all the entrepreneurs out there.
Thank you.
Come on.